Well, I don't know the guys in question, but I live in the town of Loughborough, so I know kind of what the pretext of this video was. And the reality is that the kids in question, uni students, like you say, they were goading him, they were winding him up a bit, but they were winding him up and calling him a dosser and making comments about the fact that, in their opinion, he had bottled the fight with Tyson Fury. And they were also alluding to the fact that he got knocked out by Andy Ruiz and he also just lost to Usyk. So the reality is, I think, as you quite rightly pointed out, Jim, Simon, he's not the heavyweight champion of the world at this moment in time. He has had some questionable performances, and for all of the bravado and the PR stuff that he alluded to in that video, he has presented himself as the big thing in boxing. And I think the reality was they were winding him up a little bit, maybe, but just pointing out that perhaps he isn't, and perhaps he has taken some easy decisions.
No, Jamie, well said. Now, what do you make of that, Simon? Jamie's saying, calm yourselves down. They weren't having a laugh.
And what I make to that is that Anthony Joshua was also talking to him about life lessons and how you speak to people. Because we can speak to people in a way, and I'm guilty of it too, and I will do it to someone's face, as I've done to Derek Chisora, as I've done to Kell Brook, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But in life...
And your face changed when Chisora went back in.
No, it didn't.
On you go.
And you know it didn't.
Yes,
but the point is that Anthony Joshua talked to them about the way that they spoke to people.
Yeah.
He didn't threaten them. He said to them, you're going to say this by definition to the wrong type of people, and then one day someone's going to consequence you for it. I'm not that,
Simon,
I'm not that person.
They're not, though. They're not, though, are they? Because the reality is they're not saying that to a random bloke in the street.
Were you there?
They're not taunting a random guy. They're talking to a heavyweight boxer.
Were you there?
Hang on, Simon.
Simon, it doesn't matter whether I was there
No,
or
but
not.
were you there?
Is,
Because you're advancing a version based upon giving some sort of background to what these kids...
either.
No, I'm not saying I am.
Simon,
I'm looking at the video. I'm asking him because he's given an
saying
explanation of what they were doing.
On you go, Jamie.
You're basically endorsing a heavyweight boxer giving veiled, basically by the way that he spoke, veiled threats.
No, he didn't.
To
No, he didn't.
students
No, he
about
didn't.
the way
I've
that
seen
they
the
speak to
transcript. No, he
people
didn't.
In general, but the reality is, they're not talking to people in general. They're specifically talking to a boxer. They were taunting a boxer about his performance.
So you're
in his
happy
job.
with
It
young
wasn't
kids
personal.
that are formative in life, having so little respect, and they've done nothing in their own lives yet. You think it's an appropriate reaction to taunt people. That sort of behaviour then leads into a disrespect for society, then leads into pitch invasions, and then leads into the kind of society we've got. And by the way, I haven't finished. I haven't finished yet.
They're criticising him professionally.
I haven't finished yet.
Professional ability.
Well, finish.
I haven't finished yet.
Jimmy back
I've
in.
also seen the transcript, and he didn't threaten them. He talked to them about consequences of how they behave and how they could find themselves in a situation where somebody will show them what a glass jaw is like.
Jamie's saying it's the tone of it as well, though. It's how he said it. I mean, like, you won't like it if you get a crack in the jaw. That's not.
Well, they won't
much,
like
is it?
They won't like it.
Of course, he won't like it, but they're not mocking him and his family,
and
are
one
they?
day, and one day they might find themselves doing that to the wrong person. And I'm the last person to defend Anthony Joshua.
Have you've had a swipe at Joshua?
Yes, I have.
I was going to say.
So by definition, my perspective on it is I look at some of these young kids in society and I don't know who they think they are and where they think they're entitled to have their views based upon.
I agree with
and
you, but I
really
think this is more of an
object to it.
overreaction because I don't think the students have been madly out of line. Do you, Jamie?
He's not there. Neither was I.
Can I just come back on that really quickly? Because the thing I think is really important here, and it is, I think, also the fact that it is Anthony Joshua. This isn't the first time that something like this has happened with Anthony Joshua, where he doesn't like criticism. They're not criticising him personally. They're not abusing him personally. They were criticising him about his professionalism.
But he's defined by his profession, isn't he?
100%. But they're criticising his ability and his performance. And the reality is, he might not like that. But if you're a professional boxer and you're taking all the money and all the praise when you're
and that is also true.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. But I also
willing to take a bit of criticism.
No, I agree with that.
All these years ago, Jamie, listen, thanks for the call. Look at all these years ago under Venables when Gareth Southgate missed a penalty. Do you think he took abuse? Look at more recently Aaron Ramsey missing a penalty in Seville. He would take a bit. Yeah, Joshua should just go on with it. No one's insulting his family.
I agree with that. But I also believe that the narrative that's being peddled up, right, that people are able to say what they want, when they want, how they want, and especially the next generation that haven't earned their space in the world to be even able to opine on people. Now, I want to get the balance right between being an old curmudgeon and at the same time appearing to endorse a professional sports person that can't take his medicine, right? But my first reaction was, this is probably not the right thing to do to Anthony, because there is an element of people can say as they please in this society, and ultimately it's their opinion. And then I looked at it more, I looked at the transcript, and I thought, actually, he's done you a favour, you kids, because you do need to learn a little bit of respect. You do need to learn. It's one thing saying he's a professional sportsman and he should be able to take this sort of observation. It's another thing with your young kids saying, I'm picking up on a paraphrasing, Tyson, for you, you're a dosser, you've got a glass jaw. I do think young people do need to have a little bit more respect, and then we'll see a better society.
But have they committed any particular crime? Incidentally, let me say this.
And has he?
If this was students shouting out a window at Jack Grealish, you'd back the students.
No, not necessarily. I wouldn't.
If Grealish had reacted like this, yes, you would.
Not necessarily. I
yes,
wouldn't.
You would.
If they were remarking upon Jack Grealish and his latest outburst when he was drunk as a skunk talking about another footballer, I would say, well, that's, his behaviour merits that. But this is something different.
I must admit, I think Joshua's easily offended here. It goes with the territory. Paul's a Man City fan. What do you think, Paul?
Oh, my God. I've had to lie down twice. I'm agreeing with Simon.
Oh, dear.
OK, on you go. Why?
I can't believe you're endorsing young kids shouting abuse at anybody. I can't get my head around it. I've got 2 young kids. If I found them shouting at anybody, it doesn't matter if they're famous. Look, to give you a rite of passage because he's famous. Absolutely ridiculous.
That's right.
We've got a world of mamby-pamby. Let's make a million excuses for these idiots' behaviour.
Nanny state.
Where you've got it is. And honestly, I can't get my head around it.
Is there not an argument here, Paul, that Joshua is showing himself to be very easily offended?
What, and you're saying it's acceptable for...
Right, here's an example. Right, Paul. I walked through Waterloo Station the other day. Two Herberts, as Simon would call them, are screaming at me about being a Scottish, and I won't say the word. So what do I do?
That was me and Luke.
What do I do? Do I go over and confront them and say, listen, I'm going to give you a lesson in life here. Don't speak to me like... Are you kidding me? It goes with the territory. You take it and
Jim.
you walk on.
I'm sorry, Jim, but we're making this, and this is why things are escalating.
Indeed.
A long time ago, when
I can't believe you're like this. Go on, Paul.
Monica Seles got stabbed years ago.
Indeed.
By some random coming out, and we've never done anything about it because we've
got Billy Sharp headbutted on a pitch the other day by some
You're
Herbert.
taking it to extremes. Paul, have you ever verbally criticised a footballer?
No, I go mad. We go to City, and some of the morons that shout stuff sit behind us. I'm like, mate, where were you when we were crap? Goodness sake. If we're not 4-0 up after 10 minutes, they're calling them Sunday League players. And I mean, but they're not saying that clearly because there's not very many syllables in it, and I don't think they can spell what they're saying. It's embarrassing.
Paul, listen, I appreciate the call. It's a good call. Thank you for that. Can we squeeze him in? Mark's a Liverpool fan. Mark, good morning to you. Where do you stand in this?
Jim, I'm of a certain vintage, shall we say, and this is exactly what is wrong with society. People can hide behind a phone, a block of flats, whatever, and think they can get away saying whatever they want about whoever they want.
That's right.
That's what the problem is. Every now and again, it's good that somebody winds these sort of people's necks in. That's
Absolutely
all
right.
it takes.
Absolutely right.
Wind the necks in, earn a bit of respect, have a bit of respect for the fellow man. Because I'll tell you what, this is what's up with the people nowadays. Everybody, something happens, you trip over in the street, what do? First thing is, I'll sue council. You fell over. Do you know what I mean? Nobody
Absolutely right.
push
He's right.
This is exactly what is wrong with it, and this is the way it's going. Everybody has got an issue with anybody saying anything, and it's wrong. I'm glad Anthony Joshua went up there and wound their necks in, because it taught him a seriously valuable lesson.
All right, Mark, I appreciate the call.
Right,
Thank
Jim.
you.
He's right, and he's right. The other caller, Jamie, was right
Listen,
too.
I
Joshua
would never
maybe
stand
can be
and
less
shout abuse
sensitive
at anybody, but I think at the end of the day, I think he's got to realise he's fair game.
Jim, when you were at Wembley Stadium and those fans threw beer over you, you had something to say to them. You weren't happy with it, and you told them you weren't happy with it. You don't have to allow people to get away with things. And actually, Joshua was exactly in the same position where he could do something about it. And actually, we should be looking at and saying he's probably done those kids a bit of a favour.
Mine was more of an extreme. Before the
so
Euro semi-final against
You've got
Denmark,
a bunch of 17-year-old kids hurling abuse out of windows because they think they can.
I had some clown shower me with with beer.
Do you think our kids...
So do you think I'm going to stand there and take that?
Do you think kids in society right now, we're seeing knife crime going through the ceiling, we're seeing teachers getting attacked, we're seeing social media abuse left, right and centre, we're seeing kids invading football pitches, and a large proportion of the young kids. Do you not think that the culture in this country is going a little bit off its axis, and every now and again people being having their minds
Sadly,
concentrated...
it's not just a problem with kids.
No, but I'm not interested in...
We see men and women in their 50s and 60s going the pitch with their kids and invading the pitch.
We're talking about the next generation.
Taking pictures
we're talking about the next generation that are going to take care of us in our dotage. Yeah. And I look at this generation and think to myself, Christ on a bike. Is this what my future's going to look like with this generation looking after us?
Tyson Fury's laughing at this, you know that.
Well, he will do, but I'm not interested in him right now. And Tyson Fury may well have done the same thing. May well have done, because he's had his strong views about society and how he views the world and what women can do and what other people can't do. And if Anthony Joshua felt this was a situation, and we can make it about his fragile ego, and we can make it about he should have, a disposition that ignores this, or we can make it about young kids that should learn a bit more respect for everybody, not just Anthony Joshua.
OK. AJ, you did the right thing, according to a man who has criticised you on a few occasions, Simon Jordan. Stay with us.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.